But I will definitely help you guys understand today how this relates to Tartaria. And I want to say also the reason I'm doing this, doing this and actually showing everyone that we clearly are on a flat earth, it goes against Guardian cosmology and contemporary cosmology. And what's going on in the world now is that we're accelerating with technology so fast that technologies are coming out like the Nikon P900 or the P1500. These cameras can zoom in on things 270 miles away. Just with that camera, you can prove that we're on a flat earth simply by standing on a sea, waiting for the boat to leave the vanishing point of your eyesight. Once it leaves the vanishing point, what they've always told us before the inventions of these cameras was that once it's out of your vanishing point is because it dipped in curvature. So you can't see it because it dipped down in curvature. Well, what these cameras do is once it's out of your vanishing point, because you can't see that far, right? You can zoom in with this P900 Nikon camera and bring the boat back into full view, which is proof that we're on a flat earth and there's no such thing as curvature. So technology is coming out so fast that these people are having a hard time suppressing the greatest hoax, the greatest secret in the world. And we'll get into why they've worked so hard to suppress the secret for so long. And it has to do with Tartaria, and it has to do with understanding the ionosphere, which is just beneath the firmament. As the truth comes out that we are clearly on a flat earth, the reason I'm doing this is it's more for a preemptive reason, because people are going to be questioning things once they realize that the Guardian cosmology is at odds with observable reality. Once they realize that, then they're going to be like, okay, well, that must be a lie then. And it's not. When you understand that the Guardians in other times have allowed some of their speakers to teach in a geocentric model, which is, in a flat earth model. Today, they've allowed Iesha to teach in a heliocentric fashion, right? But there's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about later on and when it comes to that. But my whole point is that if people in the Christic community don't understand why it's happening this way, they may get turned off by the information. They may say that it's false information, you see? So the reason that I'm bringing this to everyone's attention is because it's going to be brought to your attention eventually. So what NASA specializes in, guys, is perception deception. When you first saw it, right, it looked like a living room. And the reason it looked just like a living room to you is because how powerful your worldview already is. You see? So when you're first going to school, you have a globe pushed in front of you. Everyone is talking about globes. Everyone's talking about space. Books are written on it. Movies are made. So you assume that there's space. You assume that there's stars and there's vastness of space, when that's not actually the truth. The truth is that there's a firmament in which our sun, moon, and stars have their existence. They're inside the firmament. Now, if you took time investigating this picture or this video I just played, you would have seen the little thing that this chair is sitting on, right? There's some kind of box or something that it's sitting on. When he picks it up, you can see it. You would have noticed the off color of the two pictures here, maybe the picture or the two cups here. And then the picture may have been, you know, it's a little bit tilted. But a little bit of thorough investigation, actually looking into things, would have helped you realize that there's something wrong with this picture here, right? And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to investigate the small details of NASA to see all the lies. Pretty realistic, right? And that's pretty much how they show us the planets. None of them are real. I know we've all thought that we've actually saw real pictures of the planets, but you can investigate. Don't listen to me. Just look into it yourselves.
I don't want to fool you here. Last month, for the first time since 1972, NASA released the Blue Marble, a single snapshot of the Earth taken from outer space.
NASA's Rob Simon made this, and it had wide appeal too. For example, it ended up as the default background on the iPhone.
I didn't even know until I bought an iPhone and turned it on and kind of did a little happy dance.
Simon's job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is, a composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
A single snapshot of the Earth taken from outer space.
To us, the really cool thing was the data set. Up until that point, there was no realistic color map of the globe anywhere.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space, but I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it has to be.
Is the Earth flat?
We have video from space of the rotating spherical Earth. The Earth is round.
You'll never find a real photo of Earth from space. It just doesn't exist. Nothing that NASA has ever said or done has been true.
When I was talking with the gentleman from Belcom, and we were discussing the lie, everything he was telling me was different from what we were being told was the truth. And at one point I asked him, I said, man, you guys, you lied about a lot, didn't you? And instantly he said, no, we didn't lie about certain things, we lied about everything. None of it was true.
All the photos that NASA has shown us has been already proven to be CGI. Okay, none of them are real, and we're going to get into that.
Over the years, NASA has given us spectacular photos and renderings that reveal a colorful and mysterious universe. In a small, bright office, working side by side,
Let's see.
Robert Hurt and Tim Pyle bring the universe to life.
What we're doing does have real science underlying it.
Together, they produce some of NASA's most popular images, from renderings of how planets light years away could look, to actual photos of stars and galaxies captured by NASA's powerful telescopes.
And this is sort of how it comes to me. And then
Many of those images have a dark, grainy start, but color and light reveal an astonishing glimpse of how the deepest regions of space might appear to the human eye. The artists meet with NASA scientists over many drafts to ensure a planet or galaxy's look lines up with the research to make each one as accurate as possible.
I love the challenge. It's kind of like a puzzle to me of trying to create something that looks really cool within the restrictions that were given by the scientists.
The dazzling final results, enough to keep us all dreaming of the final frontier for years to come.
Now, the problems with NASA's only photo of Earth from space, we're going to investigate that right now. The photo suggests that Earth is round, but NASA admits that Earth is pear-shaped.
Information gained from Vanguard 1 has enabled us to determine the true shape of our Earth. It is slightly pear-shaped.
So you spin, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out. It gets wider in the middle. And so Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning. And it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped. The Earth is round.
So they tell us that Earth, it actually has a pear shape to it, like this image that you see over here. In their photos, it's a perfect sphere. All right. Now, we're going to talk about the Mercator map. The Mercator map was designed as a navigational map. The Mercator projection is a cylindrical map projection presented by Flemish geographer and cartographer Gerardus Mercator in 1569. It became the standard map projection for navigation because it is unique in representing north as up and south as down everywhere while preserving local directions and shapes. So the Mercator map was only created for navigational purposes, meaning they don't actually reflect the actual sizes of the continents, of the landmass. What the Gal-Peters map projection, the Peters projection map, is a rectangular map projection that maps all areas such that they have the correct sizes relative to each other. All right, these are two different maps. So the Peter projections map is actually accurate in that it accurately depicts the sizes of the continents. Now, to help you guys understand the Peter projections map and the Mercator map, I got a little video clip right here.
Plain and simple. We'd like President Bartlett to aggressively support legislation that would make it mandatory for every public school in America to teach geography using the Peters projection map instead of the traditional Mercator.
Give me $200 and it's done.
Really?
No. Why are we changing maps?
Because, CJ, the Mercator projection has fostered European imperialist attitudes for centuries and created an ethnic bias against the Third World.
Really?
The German cartographer, Mercator, originally designed this map in 1569 as a navigational tool for European sailors.
The map enlarges areas at the poles to create straight lines of constant bearing or geographic direction.
So it makes it easier to cross an ocean.
But
yes,
it distorts the relative size of nations and continents.
Are you saying the map is wrong?
Oh dear, yes. Look at Greenland.
Okay.
Now look at Africa.
Okay.
The two land masses appear to be roughly the same size.
Yes.
Would it blow your mind if I told you that Africa is in reality 14 times larger?
Yes.
Here we have Europe, drawn considerably larger than South America. When it's 6.9 million square miles, South America is almost double the size of Europe's 3.8 million.
Alaska,
appears 3 times as large as Mexico, when Mexico is larger by 0.1 million square miles.
Germany appears in the middle of the map when it's in the northernmost quarter of the Earth.
Wait. Relative size is one thing, but you're telling me that Germany isn't where we think it is?
Nothing's where you think it is.
Where is it?
I'm glad you asked. The Peters projection.
It has fidelity of axis.
Fidelity of position.
East-west lines are parallel and intersect north-south axes at right angles.
What the hell is that?
It's where you've been living this whole time.
So all the images of Earth that are all CGI, including the one image that they say is from Apollo 17, the one that we supposedly have of Earth, has the depiction of the Mercator maps. When in actuality, our Earth and the continents are shaped like the Peter projections map. This clearly proves that they're lying, because the Earth wouldn't look like this. Even if it was a globe, the continents would look like the Peter's projection map. One thing we have to understand is that the controllers are extremely lazy. And if you just look at the small details, you can just unravel their stuff. Now that you guys understand that this is not a real photo, which is supposed to be the only photo of Earth that we have, we're going to watch this clip now that slipped out somehow, because remember, the controllers are extremely lazy and sloppy and arrogant. And this slipped out, and this is the whole scene of them faking the photo.
An old reel received by mistake. It contains the raw or unedited footage of the crew of Apollo 11, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin Jr., and Neil Armstrong, staging part of their mission for nearly an hour in living color, with exceptionally clear behind-the-scenes audio of conversations discussing the techniques used to achieve a disingenuous picture depicting the Earth at a distance, in order to falsely demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts. It cannot be misconstrued that this staging was done for some other reason prior to the mission, for the reel itself is slated and dated July 18th, 19th, and 20th, 1969, the very days of the mission when they were said to be approaching and achieving lunar orbit. Furthermore, it is apparent they are in genuine zero gravity aboard the actual spacecraft, necessary to convince the mass media of their authenticity, just not any further than Earth orbit, as you will see. In this never-before-seen or heard footage, not only is the radio conversation between the astronauts and Houston Control audible, there is a secondary, private conversation taking place between the crew and a third confidential party, prompting the astronauts with what to say, when to speak, and how to effectively manipulate the camera to achieve the desired misleading effect. NASA claims that the Houston transmissions were the only ones taking place with the astronauts. Listen now as Houston Control initiates a conversation with the crew, only to find them too preoccupied with the behind-the-scenes trickery to respond. Moments pass and the oversight is picked up on by the clandestine third party, who quickly prompts them with talk. Immediately, Neil Armstrong speaks.
Hello, Apollo 11. Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay, Roger. We're mapping in on Earth.
Understand, too, that only about 20 seconds of this raw footage was ever broadcast to the public, and these conversations discussing their deception were believed to be private. Until now. Here they discuss that these television transmissions were in fact not broadcast live as everyone believed. They were first screened and edited for playback later.
Roger, Neil. We just wanted a narrative such that we can, when we get to playback, we can sort of correlate what we're seeing. Thank you very much.
Here they discuss the fact that they have turned out the lights and have blocked out sunlight from entering the spacecraft through the other windows, as to not cause any reflected light to fall onto the spacecraft's wall in the foreground.
Okay, very good. Well, we shut out the sun coming in some of the other windows into the spacecraft, so it's looking through the number one window, and there isn't any reflected light.
The reason this was done is so that the truth of the matter would not be revealed. It is this. Though the federal government would have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground, outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit. The circumference of the window then appears to be the diameter of the Earth at a distance, with the darkened walls of the spacecraft appearing to be the blackness of space around it. That is why they wanted the interior dark and blocked out the sun from entering through the other windows. As they perfected the shot, a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the window to create the illusion of the Earth's terminator line dividing night and day. It is uncannily convincing. During this segment, intended to be edited and played back later for the worldwide television audience, dated July 18, 1969, Neil Armstrong condemns himself as he states that he is 130,000 miles out, or halfway to the moon, as the NASA flight log also states on this date, when he is in reality in low Earth orbit of a few hundred miles.
Roger, Houston, Apollo 11. Calling in from about 130,000 miles out.
Here, during another segment, also intended to air after review, Neil Armstrong falsely explains to the viewers how the shot is attained by putting the camera's lens to the window's glass, as it would have to be if they were the claimed distance away from the Earth.
We only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with a TV camera.
If the window was completely filled up with a TV camera, as he stated, then an astronaut's arm would not be able to get between the camera and the window, as it obviously does here in this outtake.
South America becomes invisible just off beyond the Terminator or inside the shadow.
You can also notice how the astronaut operating the camera reacted to the mistake by attempting to pan away from it. Finally, the iris is opened up and you can see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth out the window. Here is the slate for the 19th of July, and the same shot of trickery on the 19th of July, and then the 20th, and the same misleading shot on the 20th. Later that evening, they were said to be walking on the moon. How can this be when they were in Earth orbit only 9 hours earlier, and the moon is some 3 days' journey away? By faking being halfway to the moon, it becomes apparent that they did so because they could not even go halfway. It thus confirms that the stumbling block to their success was the lethal radiation of the Van Allen radiation belts.
She keeps mentioning the Van Allen belt. The Van Allen belt is actually fictitious. They made that up because they can't leave beyond the firmament, as we'll show. I'll show you guys what the firmament looks like when they crash rockets into it. But that's what they call the Van Allen belt. They say that it's radiation that is impenetrable. Even objects can't go through it, is what they say.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Any ill effects from the Van Allen radiation belts?
No. Now, I'm not sure we went far enough out to encounter the Van Allen radiation belt. Maybe we did.
The belts are 1,000 miles to 25,000 miles above the Earth.
Then we went right out through them.
No effects on your cells?
Didn't even know it. I don't think anybody, well, maybe somebody said you went through the radiation belt, but we didn't feel it inside.
But it's not that. It's actually plasma water stopping them. Molten glass mixed with plasma water. NASA was established for 2 objectives, like I was talking about earlier. The first objective is to maintain the heliocentric lie, that Earth is a globe. The second objective was for Project Bluebeam, future fake alien invasion.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen,
there is a plan to bring about a new world order, and a lot of the things that you see happening in the world today are a direct result of action taken to complete that plan. Now, many of you aren't going to believe a word that I'm saying, and that's okay. You will find out eventually, I can assure you. I talked yesterday about the creation of an artificial alien threat to this earth to facilitate the destruction of sovereign nations, the coming together as one humanity under a one world government, with all people willing to make whatever sacrifices are called upon them to make, such as giving up all your liberties and freedoms and anything else they may ask you to do, in order to oppose this external threat. This plan called for the creation of an external, artificial, and I stress that word, artificial, threat to this earth. The entire ufology movement, ladies and gentlemen, is a creation meant to bring that about.
Cooper, or William Cooper, he's the author of Behold the Pale Horse. If anyone doesn't know that book, I recommend everyone reads it before they're 12. I read it when I was 16. It was the first conspiratorial book to have come out of that nature, and it blew my mind. I thought most of it was just bull crap. Today, I realize it's all true. Now, William Cooper was a former CIA and naval intelligence, and when he wrote the book Behold the Pale Horse, he stole a lot of top secret files. After he wrote the book, he was found dead in front of his home and on his porch. He was shot by law enforcement, actually, so he died under very suspicious circumstances. And this is what he had said about why NASA was formed. And he also gives testimony that the moon landing was a hoax.
In order to make interstellar travel believable, which nobody was buying, nobody understanding the vast distances in space could even remotely conceive that somebody from some other star could make the journey from their planet to here. Not only that, but nobody could understand how they could find this planet or even want to come here, given the billions and billions of choices that there are in the universe. So in order to make this believable, which absolutely had to occur for this scam to be swallowed by the people of the world, NASA, the National Aeronautic and Space Administration, was created. The Apollo space program, ladies and gentlemen, foisted the idea that man could travel to and walk upon the moon. Every single Apollo mission was carefully rehearsed and then filmed in large sound stages at the Atomic Energy Commission's top-secret test site in the Nevada desert, and in a secured and guarded sound stage at the Walt Disney Studios, within which was a huge-scale mock-up of the moon. All the names, missions, landing sites, and events in the Apollo space program echoed the occult metaphors, rituals, and symbology of the Illuminati's secret religion.
He just told all of us, I don't know, this was like 25 years ago, that the moon landings were staged in the Nevada desert. Recently, we're going to play the clip here in a moment. Recently, WikiLeaks actually produced this footage. They produced the actual content of them faking the moon landing. So they got caught finally. Finally, we have the proof that the moon landing is completely fake, thanks to WikiLeaks.
The best. Let's say it. The other one to Fred. I think that's awfully good. That one and the one before it was pretty good.
Do we have about 15 seconds?
Oh yeah, you got a lot of time. Here.
I claim this land in the name of...
What do you got now? Now move.
Cut it.
Action.
Got it, Jim? There you go. Crit that. Crit 4.
He needs to go off this mark.
Once more, please.
Otherwise, he has to do a frame.
Let me walk it again. Here's what we really need is when we go to his left and then kind of veer back. Is that right? No light from the car. No light. One more right away.
Headlight.
Exactly right, and it has to be. We have to be high enough so that we've got you against blue sky and not against Earth as you're coming in. You're coming in a descending approach as you get in. Over. We can rehearse it. Said, go back and we'll rehearse it and see how it looks.
Ready and turn.
Use the second marker there.
Love unit? Yeah.
Well, this is a hell of a time not to.
That's right.
We're in a little deep now,
Right.
fella, let me tell you.
We're rolling.
Stand by, here we go.
Marker?
Right now, Jim, that was better.
Forget it. Might have been.
The third speed. Could be a third.
Do they use slapsticks on this one? Be a mic tap hit.
Hey. Action. Rehearsal, guys. This is just rehearsal. Ready and action.
Altitude's a little high.
I think it's been almost 10 years since we've been trying to do this.
Pitch forward, get a really good view of the
You're looking great.
Just now? Yeah, that is.
Command override off. Engine arm
We're
on.
home.
413 is in.
Man on the moon. Well, Fred, I think that's awfully good.
Did you guys see the bubbles and them in the tank? That's what, when we see astronauts, that's actually what they're doing. They trick us into thinking that they're in space, but you can actually see bubbles, which I will show you in other clips of modern day astronauts doing the same thing that they're doing inside of tanks, in order to give the illusion that they are gravity free and walking around in space. Remember they were talking about von Braun in the previous clip? He was the lead Nazi of NASA. So he produced it, and Stanley Kubrick, if anyone knows who he is, he's a Hollywood producer, Hollywood director. Stanley Kubrick actually directed it. So it was produced by von Braun and directed by Stanley Kubrick. And we have Stanley Kubrick, right before he died, he gave an interview to one of his friends on his cell phone, admitting to this. You know, he felt bad and he wanted to tell the world that he actually had a hand in this deception.
I was going to say, like, why not CNN or, but who cares? What Choose Right is about a future movie or something coming out, or?
No.
Okay.
It's not about any movie. It's not about the movies I've made in the past. It's a confession of sorts.
Okay. I mean, about you cheated on your wife, you plagiarized.
I would never do that, no.
Plagiarized something.
It's about a movie I made that nobody is aware of, even though they've seen it.
Okay.
Is that intriguing? Do I have you intrigued?
Well, I mean, see if I understand what you said. It's about a movie you made, no one knows you made. Is that what you said?
That's right. It's a production.
Like, some of you put, like, you didn't put your name on it? Like, at the end, you put, like, a fake name?
Oh, no, I made it.
Like Alan Smithy, like that?
That's right. No, I didn't. There was no name put on it.
Why? Why would there be no credits? What do you mean?
Because there are some things that you just can't put your name on.
Okay. But wait.
I perpetrated a huge fraud, which I am now about to detail.
Okay.
Involving the United States government and NASA.
All right.
And I'm sure you've heard the rumors.
The moon landing hoax?
That's right. That the moon landing was fake. The moon landings all were fake. And I was the person who filmed it.
You're serious? Okay.
I am serious. I'm dead serious.
Because I only have this certain amount of time with you, and I'll talk about whatever you want. You know, this isn't some type of joke or film within a film thing.
Not a joke.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
I'm going to show you a clip of a civilian who didn't believe the moon landings, who politely went to the so-called astronauts who landed on the moon and simply asked them to put their hand on the Bible if they in fact did land on the moon. And this was the response he got.
You want me to knock you in the head?
Well, I want you to swear to God on the Bible that you walked on the moon.
Okay.
If you walked on the moon, we're given the opportunity to swear to God that you walked on the moon.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to get the hell knocked out of you if you don't leave me alone.
So why don't you just put the end to the record in the argument and put your hand on the Bible, swear to God you walked on the moon.
Mr. Several, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
Well, you're talking to the wrong guy. Why don't you talk to the administrator in NASA? We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight.
I don't hit people, but you're going to be on the deck unless you get
I'm heading out. I appreciate it.
And get the hell out of the house.
Well, take your stuff and get the fuck out. Why don't you quote me and say it's bullshit?
And the shadows in Iran, I don't give a damn about all that shit.
It's full of shit.
Of lunar orbit being falsified.
Being falsified?
Correct. We got an unedited tape from a source at the Johnson Space Center.
Yes. Totally nonsense.
Mr. Seibel, you do not deserve answers.
If you show this publicly, you're open for a lawsuit. Okay?
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black if I ever thought of it. Saying I misrepresented myself.
Away from me.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief. And a thief. And a thief. And a thief. And a thief.
Right. So that is Buzz Aldrin socking this poor man instead of just coming clean. So this man asks them, you know, in a very patronizing and aggressive way, perhaps, right? But when Buzz Aldrin was asked by an innocent little girl, he finally told the truth after all these years.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen, so in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going. But I think I know. Because we didn't.
So in the face of innocence, he could not lie. Who remembers the Challenger explosion where 7 astronauts died upon takeoff? You guys remember that? We now have proof. We found out of the 7 astronauts that supposedly died, 6 of them to be alive. I'm going to show you the clips. 6 of them are still alive. So this is just how much NASA lies. Everything that they do and say is a lie. Not one thing is true.
At least 6 of the 7 Challenger crew members are supposed to be alive still. 4 of them even with the same name. Here is the evidence to review.
First, Francis Richard Scobie, commander of the Space Shuttle Challenger.
Francis Richard Scobie, born May 19, 1939, commander of the Space Shuttle Challenger. Exactly 30 years after the Challenger crashed, he was spotted as a CEO of Cows and Trees, which was, and today still is, a marketing advertising agency in Chicago. When you take a look at these 2 pictures, you can see at least 3 features that show a strong resemblance. First, the same high forehead and the same eyebrows, and also the eyes facing slightly downwards at their outer corners. And all this always with his middle name Richard and the same age. You can find the picture on the right side also on his LinkedIn page. When visiting the Cows and Trees website, which I've opened here, you come across an animation with a rocket-driven cow. And the dust swirled around forms the number 6. The whole thing reminds strongly the Space Shuttle Challenger on TV when it exploded in midair. Just how black would such a humor be?
Second, Michael J. Smith, pilot of the Challenger.
Born on the 13th of April 1945, pilot of the Challenger. Michael J. Smith, 41 years old when he lost his life 30 years ago because of the explosion. The man on the picture to the right also bears the name Michael John Smith, and he's exactly 30 years older now. The resemblance with the astronaut Michael John Smith is striking. The same horizontal eyebrows, the same grey-blue eyes, the same vertical indentation on the tip of his nose. We are talking of an emeritus professor for industry and system engineering at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Michael John Smith's email address is mjsmith@k.wisc.edu.
Third, Ronald McNair, mission specialist of the Challenger.
Born on October 21, 1950, Ronald McNair was the second Afro-American astronaut with a doctor's degree in physics. The 66-year-old Carl McNair on the right looks just as Ronald would look today. One day this fact attracted the attention of some American citizens. When addressing him about the astonishing resemblance, it is said that he responded spontaneously that he was the twin brother of the killed astronaut. As the resemblance was more than striking in every aspect, some fellow citizens began to doubt this assertion. Because they did not just want to put out empty allegations, they began to investigate. Previously, it was not known that the late Ronald McNair had a twin brother. However, there was a lot to discover about Carl McNair. For example, that he is an author, an educational consultant and an inspired speaker. That he is the founder and retired president of the Ronald E. McNair Foundation, which he had established in honor of his deceased brother. One detail, however, could not be clarified at the time of that investigation. There are no indications for a twin brother of Ronald McNair named Carl from before 1986.
Here's the report of the research of a free journalist.
On Ancestry.com I have performed a search for a Carl McNair who claims to be the brother of the astronaut Ronald McNair. Carl S. McNair's LinkedIn page mentions December 16th as his birthday. On Wikipedia, Ronald McNair's parents are Carl C. and Pearl M. McNair. So I searched Ancestry.com for any birth or baptism records for a Carl McNair born on December 16th, whose father is Carl McNair and Pearl McNair, his mother. In other words, according to Ancestry.com, there is no Carl McNair, brother of Ronald McNair.
Fourth, Alison Onizuka, mission specialist of the Challenger.
Another mission specialist of the Challenger, Alison Onizuka, was the first Japanese-American astronaut. He too was supposed to have shown up in public after the Challenger catastrophe. When asked how on earth he could still be alive, he supposedly defended himself pretending to be Claude, the twin brother of the deceased astronaut Alison Onizuka. As his assertion was not seen to be credible, some fellow citizens set out for research about a twin brother of the astronaut. The astronaut Alison Onizuka was born in Hawaii on the 24th of June. At the time of that research, there was no birth register containing a twin brother Claude. Claude allegedly claimed to be the younger brother of Alison Onizuka. If Alison was still alive today, he would look exactly like his younger brother Claude on this picture. The same eyebrows, same eyes, same crow's feet wrinkles, same nose, even the same hair parting. Claude Onizuka is a board member of the Department of Liquor Control, County of Hawaii, Hilo, Hawaii.
Resulting from another more extensive research by an eyewitness.
I also asked Ancestry.com to search for the birth records of a Claude Onizuka, the alleged brother of the astronaut Alison Onizuka. According to Wikipedia's entry on Alison Onizuka, his father was the late lamented Masamitsu Onizuka. His mother is Mitsu Onizuka. Result of the search, according to Ancestry.com, at the time of this research, no one named Claude Onizuka had ever been born in the United States.
Fifth, Judith Resnick, mission specialist of the Challenger.
Judith Arlene Resnick, born on April 5, 1949. What of importance can be said about her? With a PhD in electrical engineering, she was a mission specialist of the Challenger. She was the second female American astronaut and the first Jewish American astronaut to fly in space. And now comes the interesting part. At Yale Law School, there is a chair held by a professor named Judith Resnick. The same name, this may occasionally happen. However, not only is it remarkable that now she is exactly 30 years older than the astronaut Judith Resnick when she was killed. She has exactly the same name, the same appearance, and the same voice as the deceased astronaut. And what is she doing at the Yale Law School? She's a professor of law for the Arthur Lehman program. Now let's return to compare the pictures. Like the astronaut Judith Resnick, this professor has dark curly hair, dark eyes, the same shaped eyebrow, and the same lines on both sides of the face extending up from the jaw. What else can we see? Their mouth, the way they look, and their gestures are exactly the same. Here is another picture to compare. Look here at her mouth. The upper lip of both Judith Resnick's form a slight peak when they speak. Do you see this? And is all this at random or coincidental? Hereinafter, 2 elaborate investigations are presented about Judith Resnick as witness reports. Whoever compares the voices of astronaut Judith Resnick 30 years ago, along with Professor Judith Resnick, comes to the conclusion it's about one and the same woman. So let's finally listen to this voice comparison. Judith Resnick before and after 30 years.
Well, I too am glad to be here one more time, and I am hoping that the affliction that Steve Hawley had from the 41D mission specialist of the delays hasn't rubbed off on me. And
there were fewer than 40 federal judges around the United States, and they didn't need a building of their own. They were tucked into facilities like this. And of course, what the U.S. government did was this was a form of tax, and Marine hospitals, health care.
And I think the guys behind me are hoping that it hasn't also. Otherwise, they might throw me.
What happens, of course, is the Civil War, and with the Civil War and the North conquest of the South.
Otherwise, they might throw me off the flight.
The U.S. federal government owned
and I will now introduce
about 50 buildings
around
the entire
hoping that it has,
United
as they might
States.
Throw me
And
off
none
the
of
flight.
Are all these inconsistencies pure coincidences, or is it about a worldwide deception of enormous proportions? 6th, Sharon Christa McAuliffe, payload specialist of the Challenger.
On September 2nd, 1948, Sharon Christa McAuliffe was born. She too was one of the astronauts killed on the Challenger. She was a teacher for social studies at Concord High School in New Hampshire, where she was selected from more than 11,000 applicants to participate in the NASA project Teacher in Space. If the Challenger had not exploded, she would have been the first teacher in outer space. Had she not died in the Challenger disaster, McAuliffe would be 68 years old today. In the course of the research about the space shuttle deception, also for Sharon McAuliffe, apparently an exact double was found with the same looks and, believe it or not, with the same name. Even considering the 30 added years, this exceptional professor of law at Syracuse University looks exactly the same as the astronaut McAuliffe. But not only does she look identical, but she is also exactly the same age. Note also the details, for example, how her hair growth extends from the center of her hairline to the left of her forehead. This same lawyer, Sharon A. McAuliffe, who works for Syracuse Law School in New York State, is also a cousin of Virginia's governor, Terry McAuliffe. And he in turn had supported the re-election of Clinton and the election of his wife Hillary as her campaign chairman. Furthermore, he stood up for the support of NASA, in particular for the matter of the rocket launching site on Wallops Island, Virginia, in the Atlantic Ocean.
NASA tells us that the Earth orbits around the sun. And if you looked it up in Google, it'll tell you 67,000 miles per hour around the sun. But the Masonic established Wikipedia has it at 66,600 miles an hour. Okay? I'm going to show you guys this to show you that they're just making up numbers, and all of the numbers have 666 in them because, as we know, the world is being ran by satanic pedophiles, right?
Of course, you realize the reason that Hillary had to be protected was because he was writing her on that secret server using an alias, which shows that he damn well knew and had approved in advance her use of the secret unsecured server. On top of that, there's the Anthony Weiner laptop, which I don't know if you heard this. I wrote an article about that too. 675,000 Clinton emails when they got Anthony Weiner's laptop in a search warrant because of all his sex perversion issues. It was all the Clinton emails, the Clinton Foundation, her Secretary of State emails, Huma Abedin's emails. Lots of people emailed Huma as a proxy for Hillary, and it included what Comey called the sorry, I must wave my hands more than most people. The golden emails, because they were the BlackBerry backup emails that they were supposedly just looking for everywhere very diligently. Well, guess what they did when they found them on the Wiener laptop? They got a search warrant for things that didn't include the BlackBerry backup emails. So when they told us, when he stood there and said that day, oh, you know, we've reviewed all the emails now, there's nothing there, that was a bald-faced lie. They specifically did not look at the BlackBerry backups, and they didn't look at a fraction of the emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop. So one of the things, if I were the president, I'd do is demand the Anthony Weiner laptop and get it to the most trusted person in the military to take apart everything on it and then start using it. There's a lot that can be prosecuted, I have no doubt, on that laptop. In fact, I heard that the New York police officers who saw some of it, even though they're hardened investigators, literally had to go throw up.
So NASA tells us that the Earth orbits around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour. They tell us that the Earth spins on an axis of 23.4 degrees, right? If a straight angle is 90 degrees and we subtract the 23.4 degree of the Earth's tilt, what number are we left with? So it's going to be 23.4 towards the vertical line, and it's going to be 66.6 towards the horizontal line. Okay, they say that the Earth has curvature. According to the heliocentric model, the Earth should curve at 8 inches per mile squared. What is 8 inches? 8 inches is 0.6666667. Okay, now we're going to get into the Arctic and the North Pole and all that in a minute, and what they discovered over there. And this is where they tell us the latitude of the Arctic and the Antarctic poles are at 66.6 latitude. Okay? All of this is mathematically impossible. So everything can't add up perfectly to 666, or, you know, with 3 sixes or numerous sixes. This gives you an idea that they're throwing numbers out there fictitiously to suit them, because they deal in numbers and symbology. Okay, so NASA tells us that the sun is flying around the Milky Way at 600,000 miles per hour, dragging our entire solar system with it, as our Earth spins on its axis at 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles an hour. If this was the case, then why have the stars, which constitute the zodiac cycles, stay fixed for what seems forever? So if we were moving at these breakneck speeds, the stars that we have always seen, that have always been stationary, they have never moved from their positions, would be randomly all over the place sometimes. It would never be that perfect if the sun was dragging our entire solar system at 600,000 miles an hour as the Earth spins at 1,000 miles an hour on its axis, and around the sun at 66,600 miles an hour. You see, it would be impossible for the stars to be so perfectly fixed for eons. Okay. They also tell us that there are between 25 to 50,000 satellites in orbit. But yet on NASA's so-called live feed of space, we never see any satellites whatsoever. Satellites are a hoax. This is because there are no satellites in space. They are a hoax. Over 300 undersea cables carry 99% of our data, and cell towers carry 1%. So the way that our data gets to us, guys, is not through satellites like they brainwashed us to believe. It's through undersea cables, and this has already been verified. So 99% of the world's data travels through these cables. Only 1% of our data is through cell towers.